Welcome to the 12 Principles of Animation in Games, a series where I talk about the 12 principles of animation within video games. It's quite self-explanatory, really. We've already covered the first principle, squashing and stretching in games, so if you haven't already, now is the perfect time to catch up. If you're all good though, let's crack on with the second principle, anticipation. Anticipation is used in animation to make actions look more natural on screen, and give the audience some kind of indication of what's about to happen. For the most part, this technique mimics real life. To throw a punch, most people would naturally pull their arm back first. Or to jump up, you'd most likely see somebody bend their knees, right? Well, that's exactly how it works in animation too. Of course, with some exceptions for comedic effect.
Nobody fools Pete.
So let's take a look at Mickey again, and how he jumps up in this scene.
Building's on fire!
You can tell exactly what he's about to do because his knees bend and his body shifts to point in the direction that he's about to travel to. It makes the animation a lot easier for people to keep track of and helps shift the focus and focal point of each scene naturally. However, anticipation has a very different use in video games. In fact, most people probably wouldn't recognize it by anticipation. It goes by a completely different name, and that would be telegraphing. While anticipation is used in the exact same context in both games and animations, telegraphing mechanics in games allow it to get taken one step further. Now, these preemptive movements aren't just restricted to allowing the player to see actions more smoothly, even though they regularly do, but now they do two new and very important things. The first, more creative result of anticipation when it's used in games is, well, telegraphing. Let's look at Cuphead for this, because Cuphead is just a master of telegraphing, using these animations before each attack to tell the player exactly what's coming, and if the player can understand these messages, it tells them exactly what to do to avoid damage. For example, if this blob rears his head back, the smart player can recognize that there's a punch coming, and he should dodge. Or when one of these very, very annoying sunflowers' vines grips the platform you're standing on, you should probably get off that platform because something bad is most likely headed your way. It's really smart stuff, right? Cuphead also varies the amount of telegraphing shown to the player to help them understand the lethality of each move. A great example of this for me is in the Carnival Kerfuffle stage.
This match will get red hot.
Here, during the balloon dog thing phase, there are two main obstacles to avoid, and they're shown in two very different ways. The first are the balloon dogs, which are very slow moving and a large, easy target to shoot down and avoid. They have little to no telegraphing, indicating that they're not very lethal of a threat, especially on their own. However, the other obstacle, the roller coaster, can take unsuspecting players for a loop and possibly ruin a player's attempt in one single passing, if they aren't ready for it. So, to make sure the player knows of the roller coaster's lethality and when they should expect it, they display the roller coaster heading up the tracks in the background, making sure the player sees what's about to hit them. This makes a general rule in the game of the more dangerous or difficult an attack, the longer or more obviously that attack is telegraphed to the player. Not to mention the fact that a lot of moves aren't properly described until they hit you, very much playing towards the fact that Cuphead is a fast-paced game and each death is a learning experience. But let's not get too deep into Cuphead for the moment, eh? So, other than telegraphing information to the player in vital second-to-second moments, what else can anticipation do for games? Well, pretty much the exact same thing, but instead of the enemy's attacks being delayed and easy to read, it's your attacks. It's not too exciting of a change, but I think it's different enough. So let's take a look at Dark Souls for this one. Just like Cuphead, every enemy's attacks in Dark Souls can be read and understood before they actually make contact with you. But the twist here is that so can your attacks. Button presses aren't as snappy as in Cuphead or any fast-paced shooter, and for a good reason. Compared to a game like Counter-Strike, there's a considerable delay in your button presses. Shoot a gun in Counter-Strike, you'll pull the trigger in the exact same frame in the game. But attack with a heavy weapon or spell in Dark Souls, you probably have time to go put the kettle on, and then some. It forces the player to think about each action because if you attack, you could be left vulnerable for a good few seconds, giving your enemy more than enough time to really dig into your health bar. Timing your attacks becomes so much more important because of this, and as a result, it raises the game's skill ceiling in quite a unique way. Knowledge about when to use a light or heavy attack, how long it'll take to recover from dodging, and whether your opening is large enough to slam down a shot of Estus definitely splits the casual players from the hardcore. And as a result of telegraphing and the use of anticipation in a game, it means that nearly every hit you take in these games is the player's fault. If you get hit in Cuphead, it's because you didn't react properly to a boss's attack, or you were positioning yourself poorly. If you got killed in Dark Souls, then it was also most likely bad spacing or a sloppy decision to use the wrong attack at the wrong time. At the same time though, this means that if you get familiar enough with them, it's 100% possible to complete these games in their entirety without being hit once. And that's all thanks to the principle of anticipation. But let's be honest, you probably won't ever do that. Thank you.